Welcome back, everyone. The torturous wait is over. It might be 6 months late, but Illusion of Chaos has finally released on Master Duel. While it could have been nice to have it before meta-warping decks like Sprite dropped into our laps, no power creep is going to stop me from using my Super Spies, and hopefully it won't stop you either. Now, I know some of you fine folks are new and just coming here out of the new interest drummed up with the release of Illusion of Chaos, so welcome! The basic breakdown is that Spyral, a super powerful combo deck, has its most powerful starter, which is Magician's Souls. It's inarguably one of those powerful stars in the game just for how crazy it is. The problem is that Magician's Souls is from the Dark Magician archetype, not the Spyral archetype, so despite its power level in Spyral, we don't have a ton of ways to access it consistently, like, say, Sword Soul, which has 9 functional copies of Moye, thanks to 3 Moye, 3 Ecclesia, and 3 Emergence, right? As just an example. Lots of other decks have similar setups like that. You know, Branded has 3 Fusion, 3 Illubra, and I guess 2 Branded Opening, but you get the gist, right? Multiple ways to search out your best starter. Illusion of Chaos lets us catch up to modern decks like that with its ability to search Magician's Souls while shuffling another card from your hand into the deck, which can be useful. On top of that, it's generically searchable as a level 7 ritual monster thanks to Preparation of Rites, meaning we now also have 9 copies, functionally if we want it, of our best starter. So, what does Souls actually do that makes it such a busted card? Well, if you're familiar with Math Mix Circular, it's not far off from that concept. It can send Master Plan to the graveyard from the deck as a cost, like Circular does with its Math Mix, so it can't be hand-trapped in the traditional way like Ash Blossom, so it's basically a free Foolish Barrel, and then it special summons itself to do so. Also, while on the field, it can send up to two spell traps to the graveyard, and you draw that many cards, which works nicely in Spyral specifically, as we have cards like Spyral Mission Rescue that we want to put into the graveyard to summon our Spyral monsters, like the Master Plan we just sent off Souls. Making sense? I hope so. Also, drawing cards is super nice. You know, it helps with consistency when your starter draws you up to 2 cards in a traditionally spell-heavy deck. So that's the basics of it. It massively increases Spiral's consistency by giving it access to our most powerful starter more often. It also makes cards that combo with Magician Souls explicitly a lot more powerful, which will adjust deck building somewhat. What you see here is just a very, very bare bones Spyral core set of cards. These are cards you'll probably need in nearly every Spyral variation with some minor adjustments. You know, sometimes you can cut cards like Monster Reborn, sometimes you want a second Big Red, sometimes if you're playing a really intensive extra deck, you could cut Nightmare Phoenix, but that's, you know, very minor nitpicks. These are generally cards you want in Spyral. Except maybe Nightmare Griffin, I can throw him out. Now, before I show you an example list that's actually fully completed, let me state one important thing. Every single list that you might have seen me make in the past on my channel, since the Halka Fibrax ban, or I guess since the Quick Fix was put to 2, those decks are all still fairly viable with some minor tweaks. You would just add 3 Illusion of Chaos and 3 Preparation of Rites, not cutting anything, because most of the times you don't really need to cut any of the cards in those decks. They're already pretty tight as it is and go over 40 for a reason. So just adding more Souls and more Illusion of Chaoses and more Preparation of Rites is good enough to make those decks instantly perform better, and you don't really have to change that much. So if there's a version of the build that you've seen me play in the past that you're particularly attached to, unless it was banned out like any build with Union Carrier, you can go ahead and just throw these 6 cards in and it'll be better. So if you're a prior viewer like those particular lists, stick to them. It's no problem. I'm probably going to show you some updated versions of those lists as we go forward. Anyhow, let me get to a very basic sample list that's as easy as it gets. So let's back up real quick into the deck build screen. Where are you at? So this is a Spyral, a super basic Spyral list. No frills, no extraneous extenders and starters that make the deck more complicated but more powerful. This is just a bare bones, especially if you're obsessed with 40 cards, a bare bone 40 card Spyral list. Now, the problem with lists like this is, one, the ceiling is incredibly low because you're not including extra deck payoffs or main deck payoffs that you can abuse with your engine, but it's fairly consistent and it's not complicated. This list is just dialed into going Souls, activate effect, normal summon quick fix, activate effects, combo from there. Basically, you run Where Art Thou because if you have either quick fix or Souls, you can search the other one with it, and that's just the idea. And if you're trying to turbo out the Souls plus quick fix 2-card combo, that'll work. This is a basic build that just gets the Trigate Wizard, Nightmare Griffin, a set anti-spell fragrance thanks to Curious and Nightmare Griffin's effect, and a Spyral Sleeper. That's also an Appaloosa on the top link. That's the basic general idea, and there's nothing wrong with this list, though, like I said, it does have power level issues, and it more importantly, has going second issues. Now, you'll see like, oh, he's not playing Maxi. Well, in a lot of Spyral decks, we don't really play Maxi because we're not playing that many hand traps. Generally speaking, most of the builds we run can break boards going second to a degree, so long as, you know, you can force through a couple of effects, or maybe a Forbidden Droplets gets you there. And Maxi isn't actually going to help you that much because in a deck like Spyral, if you draw both your master plans off Maxi, you can't send them to the graveyard with souls anymore, so your best play is gone from you. So without cards like maybe Dangers or more hand traps, Maxi isn't that great. And even in Danger lists, you don't want Maxi that much because you want to draw powerful going second cards with the Dangers, not draw a Maxi that you can't use anymore, right? So that's the basic idea, and I'm going to show you just a basic 2-card Souls plus Quick Fix combo. If you're a frequent viewer who's seen this plenty of times, you can go ahead and skip past this little demo I'm showing for new people, but I'm just going to show, as for all the newcomers that are going to flock to this deck with the new support, just how you do a basic Souls plus Quick Fix combo. Alright, so here I am in the solo mode, nothing crazy here. This is just a Souls plus Quick Fix combo with Spyral Resort, which is actually more likely to happen because you functionally have 4 copies of Spyral Resort. So we're going to go ahead and add Quick Fix here. Now, if I didn't actually have this Quick Fix accessible, if my opponent like Ash Blossom my Spyral Resort, this is still combo because I have Souls plus Revival effect for Master Plan. You just have to execute it slightly differently. So, typically speaking, you want to summon Souls first. It's just safer that way, and we'll go ahead and send our Master Plan. Special Summon Souls. And then you'll normal summon Quick Fix. Now, normally, you don't have the Big Red in hand when you do this combo, so I'm going to pretend like I'm activating Quick Fix to add Big Red here. Make sense? Okay. Then I'm going to activate Big Red. Summon Master Plan. Right here. It doesn't really matter the link zones at this particular instance. This particular combo isn't extremely link intensive. Now, I actually already drew a rescue mission, so I kind of want to just skip one of these, but it's fine. So you add rescue mission, and then you will draw 2 cards off Souls. You'll send your Big Red, and if you have an extra discard in hand already for some reason, you can actually send this spent Spyral Resort because you're about to get a new one when you link off. But if your opponent doesn't have Ash or Imperm, you don't suspect them of having that. It's actually more efficient because you keep more cards in hand for discards later. But typically, you're going to send the rescue mission just to get it in the graveyard. And I add the Super Agent, which is annoying, but it's not really good. Actually, you know what? I can fix that. I'm going to use Illusion of Chaos to add Souls to hand, and I can shuffle back the Super Agent so I can show you the combo as if I didn't draw Super Agent. Very funny. Okay, so now we're going to go into a Barricade Borg Blocker. Typically, you want to get Link Kuriboh already situated in the graveyard, and also this lets you know if your opponent has Nib early on. So we're going to go into a Link Kuriboh, and we're going to go into Barricade Borg Blocker with Master Plan. Now, the efficient play here is to discard this extra rescue mission I had, but there's no guarantee you have that second rescue mission in hand. So I'm going to activate Master Plan first, and this Barricade Borg Blocker activation will chain block Master Plan from the effects of cards like Ash, or I guess like Skullmeister would work here, something like that. Anything that has to activate in response to a triggered effect. So then I'll just discard this Ancillary Illusion of Chaos, which could be any random card in my hand. This chain blocks your Master Plan for Ash, which is fairly important if you suspect your opponent has it. Now we can add our Super Agent. Well, it's actually more important to add Sleeper because he's more relevant to your end board. And another Spyral Resort. So Master Plan has already added 3 cards to our hand, and then we'll activate the other Spyral Resort. You want to do this as quickly as possible because Spyral Resort's protection effect to stop people from targeting your spirals is important, and you don't want to summon your double Helix first because that will make it susceptible to Imperm when you activate the second Spyral Resort. Because like there's a little window when Spyral Resort is first activating where you can target the double Helix, if that makes sense. Now we can go ahead and activate Spyral Resort and add our Super Agent hand, just like we never drew them. Alright, so now we can activate Rescue Mission on Master Plan. And we will summon Master Plan. Now, Spyral is not a linear deck, and sometimes you have to change what you are doing depending on what is happening. So, I do have 3 spells in the graveyard. Big Red, plus Resort, and a third spell on my field thanks to Spyral Resort, which means I can go into Celine, who needs 3 spells in rotation on either field or in either graveyard in total to work. So now I'm going to activate Master Plan to add an Assault Mission to my hand, and I can go into Celine immediately, which is good because this is a free link material, basically. Celine also helps you extend in certain combos or set up more link zones in certain combos, but in this combo, she's just getting me another summon of Master Plan. So we'll activate Celine and summon Master Plan. It's very important that you get Assault Mission off of your second Master Plan search, because that's how you get your drone into play, and I'll show you that in just a second. But also Master Plan here, we'll activate her. This will get my last mission out of the graveyard, though I'm going to probably summon her again. It doesn't really matter that much. And now, finally, we can link off to the guy who originally broke Spyral back in 2017, the guy that made this deck once upon a time Tier 0, and once upon a time again and again Tier 1, Double Helix. Now, this is the typical play where you use Quick Fix to discard Assault Mission, and you summon Quick Fix. Now, this Quick Fix will get to search your Spiral Gear drone, and this is the card that lets you stack your opponent's deck, which is a form of interaction on its own, because you can put a bad card like a useless hand trap on top of your opponent's deck. So, like, don't underestimate how powerful drone is, being able to stack your opponent's top 3 cards when they're going second. You also get to make sure they don't draw something like a Dark Ruler no more, right? Or Forbidden Droplets, I guess. This version wouldn't care about Dark Ruler no more, typically. So we'll just put a monster on top because it makes things easy, but I'm against a solo bot, so it doesn't really matter. Then we'll activate Double Helix. We'll call Monster because we put a monster on top. And this will summon our second Quick Fix. Now, I have some older Spyral combos that you might see on my channel, really old, back when Quick Fix was limited to 1. And typically you would summon Master Plan here, but, you know, we've got 2 Quick Fixes, so why not use them? We'll get our last add to hand with Last Resort here. Now, you will go into Link Kribo. Right here. So, it wasn't technically relevant for me to summon Link Kribo early or at the beginning of the combo, because we could just use his effect. We could summon him to this Link Zone, but in situations where you use your Double Helix to search Master Plan, it is important to get Link Kribo in the graveyard so you can summon him to any zone your Quick Fix is at. Anyhow, that explanation aside, we're going to activate Quick Fix, discarding our rescue mission, and we will summon Quick Fix. Now, the problem with your Quick Fixes now is both of them will banish themselves. The next time you link them off, they're going to banish, and we escape that fate by going into a level 1 Xyz monster. In this case, we used Ghost Trick Double Hand. Now, you could have skipped Selene and left Barricade Board Blocker on the field, and that would be a Dark Monster, and Link Kribo would be a Dark Monster, and now we're going to rescue back Master Plan for a third Dark Monster if you had left Board Blocker on the field, because it wasn't really necessary, but we keep Double Hand in the deck because it is a Dark Monster in the extra deck that can generically detach Quick Fix for effect on turn 1. It is the only rank 1 Dark Xyz that can detach on your first turn. Now, it's not technically relevant here because we're just going to link it straight off and that wouldn't matter, but it does come up sometimes, which is why we play it over other non-UR rank 1 Xyz. So I get this question a lot, why do we run Ghost Trick Double Hand? That is the reason. Just craft it. You need it for Curious. Anyhow, we've searched every card we want to search out of our deck. We've gotten every mission. If I hadn't drawn a mission, this last summoning of Master Plan would search this final mission, but I did draw one, so I didn't get to add it. But we've gotten every card. We've got our Sleeper, we've got our Last Resort off for our Quick Fix activations and whatnot, so we are good to activate Curious. And you want to, if you can, search every card you can out of your deck with Curious before you go into Curious, because Curious does randomly mill cards. So now we will use Curious, and we'll use its effect to send your broken Floodgate anti-spell frigate to the graveyard. And then Curious will randomly mill 3 cards, and it built a Spyral Resort, which is fine, not that big a deal. Anyhow, at this point is when we really just start building our board. So I'm going to go into Nightmare Griffin, while we still have our Double Helix here to co-link it. You could go into Appaloosa earlier, I guess. It doesn't. As soon as you summon Drone, you can go to Appaloosa, actually. But it's not that relevant, because if your opponent had a nib, they would have nibbed you ages ago. So if you wanted to play tight, you could do it that way. So we'll discard our rescue mission, set our anti-spell fragrance. Ta-da! And you get to draw a card from our deck, which is nice. And we drew another Magician's Soul. It's very funny. So now we can start doing stuff. We can start just building our board. So we're going to use Quick Fix. Discard random cards in hand that you've drawn so far. Does not matter. Summon him here. If you're running a second Big Red, you would get it here too. Then we can go into our Appaloosa. Then we will summon one more Quick Fix. Discarding Magician Souls. And summoning them here. And this will make our Trigate Wizard. And then we can rescue back our Double Helix. Now, technically, this is not the most efficient way to do it. You could have summoned Super Agent to make one of these link materials and kept a Quick Fix in graveyard, but sometimes you cannot search Super Agent. And also sometimes your opponent robs you of one material somewhere along the way with a hand trap. That is what this Super Agent in hand is for. He is the extra extender you get throughout the combo to insulate it. Also, sometimes you can't summon Drone because you had to waste an assault mission. Well, you can use the Super Agent to check your opponent's top card randomly, but you don't need him here, so it's fine to keep him in hand. Another funny thing you can do if you wanted to was summon Super Agent, link him off, and then you could have an extra rescue mission in Graveyard, and you could rescue mission Super Agent on your opponent's turn to pop a back row, but that's not how you typically play the deck. So we'll summon Sleeper here, and it's very important that we summon Sleeper to the zone Nightmare Griffin points to, because Nightmare Griffin negates special summon monsters who are not linked. So this will keep your Sleeper active. You'll equip Last Resort, and that is the basic combo. You could have sequenced it slightly different, but that's how you do a basic 2-card linear Spyral combo with most of the explanations and a couple of extra cards in hand for your value. If you don't draw your extra rescue mission, you would have one more card in hand at this point, because obviously I missed out on a search with Master Plan that I could have used for one of my discards, but otherwise we're good. So this board is, your opponent can't play spells for the most part. You can pop 2 cards. All of your special summon opponents your monster has are negated unless they summon specifically to this zone Appaloosa points to. You have 2 monster negates, and you have Trigate Wizard. That's basically it. Nothing too crazy. Let's get back to the deck screen. Actually, you know what? Heck, let's just show off the cards in action against our very silly opponent. And also, I get to show you this Barricade Board Blocker interaction. So at the end of the turn, if you did put a Spyral Resort in graveyard, Barricade Board Blocker will add it back to hand, giving you recruit value. Then you'll use Spyral Resort. The typical return of Spyral Resort is Drone. Drone is the card that you get the most value out of recycling multiple times, because you get to stack your opponent's deck multiple times. Like, if your opponent shuffles their deck throughout their combo, you can just stack it again. Oh, it's my opponent. So I did mess up here because I was talking, but you're supposed to activate this anti-spell fragrance in draw phase immediately. So your opponent, is stuck with having to play quick play spells during the draw phase or whatever, but, we'll just do it now because why not? But this is the idea, right? Okay, well, I mean, they didn't do anything, so you just activate Sleeper and pop 2. Oh, this is important for new people, too. Last Resort makes Sleeper immune to his own destruction effect, but you do have to target a Spyral you control, and then target up to 2 cards your opponent controls, and destroy them. So, I can target Sleeper, target 2 more cards, and because of Last Resort, my opponent can... Sleeper does not get destroyed. Also, your opponent can't target Sleeper, doubly so because of Spyral Resort. So, that's the basic 2-card combo. Let's get back to the deck screen so I can talk about something a little more interesting than just basic Trigate setups. Alright, so that was your basic Spyral combo with your most basic Spyral list. So if you're just trying it out for the first time, nothing wrong with this list. I'm not going to make fun of you just because I prefer different styles of lists. Anyhow, let's go check out a list that I made, though it is inspired by a combo Kevin OG came up with a little while ago, and that is AFD Turbo, because this is the card I think is going to have the biggest impact in Spyral outside of Illusion of Chaos from the new cards, and that is Ancient Fairy Dragon. This card is insane. This is the card that Spyral got banned because Spyral has a non-once per turn field spell that the original AFD could just pop your Spyral Resort and then add another Spyral Resort to hand. You would play Spyral Resort and then special summon a Quick Fix or a Drone that you added with the Resort. It was absolutely bonkers. But they've since errated her, so now she can't add the same field spell with a field spell with the same name as the one she popped. But that's fine for our purposes because we're going to be adding Secret Village of the Spellcasters. Now that is an incredibly preposterous jank floodgate. It's basically Imperial Order, but it won't work on you. It's absolutely insane, and we can search it with Ancient Fairy Dragon, which is something we can easily access thanks to Destrudo, which we can access through just hard drawing a Dragon Ravine or Romulus, and that's where the combo comes in. You're going to see a slightly different variation, and for anyone wondering why we don't, just list off a bunch of a specific combo line for Spyral, it's because the combos are different depending on which card you're playing, and I'm about to show you why. Let's get to the demo. Alright, so here we are, once again back in the solo mode, beating up on this poor Monarch solo mode bot, but this is Souls plus Quick Fix combo. It's actually, tons of extenders through like an Ash or whatever. The only thing, Maxi and Draw would beat it, but that's about it. But, I'm just going to show you the combo. Drawing this many Spyral names can actually be a little awkward sometimes, but it shouldn't matter here. Oh, I did segment this wrong. You should always lead with Souls first, but it doesn't matter, really. I'm going to add a Big Red because that's what I would normally add in this situation, even though I already had one in hand. I have 3 Big Reds in this deck because Souls plus Big Red is combo, And because we have so much more access to souls, running more big reds isn't that big a deal like it used to be. And also, because there's a lot of discarding involved with the Dragon Ravine builds, because Dragon Ravine discards, and as you might have seen, I had a Jet Sync run here, which also discards, so you can imagine, you know, I need the extra help sometimes. So we will go ahead. I need the extra help like with discards, and you can add lots of extra big reds to fill up your hand with just random nonsense to discard later. So we'll draw 2, and as long as I don't draw a resort, we're fine. Okay, we're good. If I did draw a resort, it actually wouldn't matter. I could just play the resorts and search the cards I was going to search anyhow. I would just miss my Master Plan activation and I have left cards in hand. So anyhow, let's go straight into Borg Blocker. If you were in a game, you would almost certainly chain block your Master Plan by discarding Danger Jackalope just to get a free material for later, but not super relevant here, so I'm just going to discard this extra big red. Why not? Barricade Borg Blocker is actually pretty funny in these AFD lists because because you're popping your own field spells, you almost always have a field spell in the graveyard at the end of the turn to return to hand with Borg Blocker, which is very funny. So we'll go ahead and cycle our resorts and such after discarding our rescue mission. And this is going to look very familiar, but it will change quite soon. But otherwise, it's fairly familiar. Like this is like the linear part of the Spyral line that you should be used to, but you know, it's not always the same, and even Souls plus Quick Fix, depending on the other cards in hand, might be a little different from hand to hand. But this is the basic line, just to get you guys comfortable with the deck list I'm showing you. So I do have 3 spells in rotation, plenty. So we'll go to Selene as per usual. Just, you know, great for link climbing and getting... when you want to summon double Quick Fix, you actually need to go through Selene or have drawn an extra mission already. Because if you don't have a way to get both your Assault and your Rescue mission into rotation without summoning Master Plan with Helix, which is a waste because you want to summon Quick Fix. So we'll go ahead and get the Rescue mission here. And we'll make double Helix. You see my hand is just full of cards. It's absolutely chock full. Tons of cards to discard at this point. So we'll discard Assault mission, summon Quick Fix, activate Quick Fix, and get our last resort at this point. But you know, normally I would add Drone, but I've already got the Drone in hand, so it's not that big a deal. But I'm going to go through Quick Fix so many times that I would get all of my gears out of my deck regardless. So we'll summon Drone, and Drone's actually very important in this combo, and you'll see why in just a hot second. Go Raigeki Break on top, and we'll call Trap to get the Quick Fix. And we'll summon Quick Fix. Activates effect. I'll do something very, very silly, and that's summon monster you probably aren't that familiar with, Shinobi Insect Hagakure. Now, this is only in here because it is a generically summonable wind monster, and I guess I'm going to show you why that matters in just a second. So we're going to do this just to use our Quick Fix material more efficiently. Now we can discard Rescue mission. Ooh. Summon Quick Fix. And then we can go overlay into our Lyrilusk. Use the Lyrilusk's effect, because why wouldn't you? I mean, it's just funny. You're not keeping any of these monsters around, really, but now we will detach a Quick Fix, because why not? And add our Slower Swallow. Now we need to get another level 1 monster on the field so we can special summon the Slower Swallow. So, you know, we can just discard the big reds we've been adding. You know, these are cards you are guaranteed going to have in your hand. So summon Quick Fix here, kind of important, because you need to summon to this Link Zone with the Slower Swallow. And now we can make Romulus. We'll go ahead and get Romulus. Activate. And this will get us our Dragon Ravine. At this point, you can rescue mission back your Master Plan. There's no sense in not doing it. We're about to clear up a bunch of Link Zones, so it's not going to be relevant for too much longer. And get our final rescue mission out of the deck because we're about to go into Curious. How are we going to Curious, you might ask? Well, I don't have, you know, my Link Kuriboh or my Dullahan. Well, you might notice Wind Insect, Wind Dragon, Wind Machine. And that is how we are going to get all the way to Curious without Dark Monsters. You can still make Curious with Dark Monsters in this deck, like I said earlier, with the dangers and such, and even have Link Rebuff still, but it is not necessary. So we will discard this final rescue mission to send Destrudo. Now that we got Destrudo in Graveyard, we can just go ahead and use Curious. Curious. Curious Effect, we'll send our Jet Synchron. And we will send nothing of relevance here. And we can go ahead and Destrudo at this point. Pop off on our Quick Fix. Summon Ancient Fairy Dragon. Drop her right here. And we can pop this Dragon Ravine. Gain 1,000 life to make up for that Destrudo just a little bit. And add Secret Village of the Spellcasters, baby. And there it is. That is your OP Floodgate. We also have an Ancient Fairy Dragon effect we could trigger, which isn't super relevant right now. But at this point, we will just discard whatever. At this, you know, I've got a Super Agent hand I can discard if I wanted to, but I'll just discard this Jackalope because why not? But part of the reason we're running so many big reds, so we have all these discards available. And we can go ahead and summon a Borreload Savage Dragon, but I do need to make Appaloosa first, and we will do this the efficient way. I will summon this extra Quick Fix I have that isn't super relevant anymore. I want to get Curious in the graveyard for my total setup here. We can actually go for a 4-material Appaloosa. I know, seems very crazy, but there's no reason not to, because I have a rescue mission left in the deck. No, and there we go. And you can go ahead and rescue mission back your master plan. Bring her over here just because. Go ahead and activate this Secret Village of the Spellcasters and make our Borreload Savage Dragon. I didn't even use the Spyral Resort, which would be... You should. I mean, why wouldn't you? I could have just got another master plan in my hand and had another Spyral name in the graveyard, but, you know, there was no guarantee I had that card. So we'll activate Sleeper, banishing all these pointless big reds, I guess, because we have Board Blocker to return that rescue mission, or that Spyral Resort. And there we go. That is a basic combo to get you to the point where your opponent cannot play spells. You have an Omni Negate in case they run evenly matched. You have stacked their decks so they're drawing a bad card. You have a double pop, and you have Appaloosa for 4. If I really, really wanted to, I could have, I can also, I could summon Super Agent, and I could have Ancient Fairy Dragon and like summoned another monster like that Jackalope, and I could have made like a Masquerena if you had the extra space, or I could just make like a Nightmare Phoenix to make sure my Appaloosa, after using all 4 effects, doesn't get attacked over. Or I could make a, with that Jackalope, I could have made an extra Dark just in case they got my master plan to keep my my Secret Village online. There's a couple of things you could do, but like I have this extra Super Agent that I searched for that I never had to use, who could have been discard fodder, right? In case I drew those extra big reds or something. So, and in case you do need more discard fodder, you could also use Drone to banish one of those big reds and add the Super Agent back to hand for even more discard fodder. So that's like just a basic idea that I came up with once we knew Ancient Fairy Dragon was coming in. I was like, okay, well, I want to make Secret Village, I want to make Sleeper, I want to make Appo, and I want to make an Omni Negate. And there we go. It's even an Omni Negate with a fun little piece of backup, like Curious, in case your opponent somehow can clear your Secret Village. I don't know. It's very unlikely. Like, the cards that out this are just evenly matched, and you would negate that. So the weakness of this board, I suppose, is double evenly match. So if you want to get around that, you could maybe run an Assault build, because as you saw, I had tons of extra material. I could have just summoned the Super Agent, drop down an Assault with Super Agent plus double Helix, and then like summoned a TG Striker, I guess, by sending a Smoke Grenade and a Big Red. I had tons of Big Reds in my deck, and then you could like make a Charles at that point. I had the extra rescue mission, you know. I didn't need to use it the way I did. So there's tons of different ways you could run this, and you could make it even better because, as you can see, I have tons of extra material that I just never used. And yeah, so that's the basic combo. If you want to try an Ancient Fairy Dragon build, there's one for you to try out. Let's get back to the deck, I guess. Alright, so here we are back in the deck building screen, but I just want to show you just a couple of other decks that I have like brewing around that you might be interested in. I might show full videos of later, but just to give you ideas if you want to like snapshot something and try to figure it out yourself. Here's a smoke grenade list that Psychic came up with. It's a little janky because you have to use Curious before you use a Solde, which, you know, risks milling your TG Striker guy or your Secret Village, but otherwise it's an incredibly powerful deck that does basically what you just saw me do, as well as rip a card out of their hand, which is pretty insane. A card and deck that's near and dear to my heart that I invented not too long ago was this Kali Yuga variant, which I think becomes a whole lot better in Punch. Oh, I need to put Ancient Fairy Dragon in here. That was my placeholder, Ancient Pixie Dragon, but let's go ahead and fix that. But the idea is that Dragon Ravine, one, gets you to Ancient Fairy Dragon, but Ancient Fairy Dragon is a free level 7 to go into your rank 7 to set up your DD Duodon King Kali Yuga play. So like, this card already combos you with dangers, so you can like, I want to show you that eventually. I'm probably going to get to it in a video where Dragon Ravine, discard a danger, send Destrudo, make Ancient Fairy Dragon is a full combo on its own because you pop the Dragon Ravine, add Resort, and then use Ancient Fairy Dragon to special summon Quick Fix. It's a full combo all on its own, and you have an extra level 7 hanging around mid-combo to make your Kali Yuga. Just an insane card for this deck, and I even threw in the extra Secret Village just in case I don't need to do that, so I can Kali Yuga people under Secret Village, and the biggest weakness of Kali Yuga was people drawing a Cosmic Cyclone that they activate and draw or standby phase on your freaking rank up magic, or, you know, maybe their first play is a, I don't know. It's basically just Cosmic Cyclone and Runic Spell Trap Destruction and Special Summon Destruction, but Secret Village outs all those cards because you can easily leave a Master Plan on board in that setup. Another deck that I think is very funny that actually went from complete meme to actually pretty good FTK is the World. So the stupidest part of the World combo was that I had to make a 4 material Alimbertion to search Light Barrier because there was no other way to, out of the extra deck, search a field spell card to enable the World. Because getting to the World is fairly easy. You send it with Curious, then you Firewall Dragon back to your hand, then you summon it with Saryuja. Snap, done, easy as that. But getting Light Barrier was a lot harder. So you might understand how Ancient Fairy Dragon immediately enables that. So get prepared for this one because I'm probably going to make an update video to good old Zawardo. And that's just a few options. Okay, yeah, there's even, I mentioned this I think in the deck tech, like Adventure is even a reasonable deck to play in Spyral now because there is a specific combo with Souls plus any Adventure starter, which is, you know, the Enchantress, the Foolish Burial, and the Rites. You have to go through double Selene to do it, and you do have to run double Assault Mission to get around the Adventure prevention of normal summon effects on your Drone and Quick Fix. But you could still do this. You could still have an entire Omni Negate set up on top of your combo, and this is just like a basic, this is a basic Tri-Gate list, and I didn't put anything in the deck to set with Nightmare Griffin, but that would just be an ad, just like a decision you make at the time. Like I would probably throw an anti-spell dragon or something like you saw on my first list. But you know, these are just tons of different variants that you can run with it, with Illusion of Chaos and with Ancient Fairy Dragon. And I even made this very stupid list for Buns, who's a dear friend of ours, where you run a million hand traps and then just Illusion of Chaos. Oh, I forgot to actually put the Illusion of Chaos in here because I haven't looked at this deck since I made it as a joke. But you know, here's Illusion of Chaos. I should put 3 in there. Who should I cut? You cut the, yeah, this is OCG ratios, you know, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and then you run 3 of the good ones, Ash and Maxi. This is a very silly deck, but if you wanted to play Hand Trap Spyral, this isn't really that bad a deck. You just hand trap people into oblivion until you find your 2-card combo, then you probably win the game. I mean, give it a try. It's probably not bad. Alright everyone, that's enough joking around. The video's already gone on long enough, and I hope you are as excited for Illusion of Chaos as I am, because it's really going to change just how powerful, consistent, and how many different kinds of Spyral variants you can run. Thanks for watching everyone, have a great day, I'll see you soon.